I stared at my phone as another $2,500 vanished from my checking account. Automatic payment Riverside property mortgage. The fourth emergency this month. Mom's text followed. Thanks, sweetie. Family always helps family. Red heart. My name is Jordan Hayes, and for 6 years I'd been my family's personal ATM. I was 31 now, paying their mortgage, property taxes, insurance and credit cards while they told everyone I was still figuring things out. Meanwhile, my brother Derek, the golden child, just returned from his 3rd European vacation this year. Dad posted photos. So proud of our Derek. Another successful business trip. The business trip was a 2-week Mediterranean cruise. Derek worked part-time at a gym. I worked as a software security consultant, but my family had no idea what that meant. To them, I was playing with computers and making decent money, nothing special. They didn't know about my 6-figure salary, my investment portfolio, or the cybersecurity firm I'd co-founded that was valued at $8.2 million. What they also didn't know was that 18 months ago, I'd hired forensic accountant Patricia Chin after discovering something disturbing in my credit report. Jordan, someone's been opening credit cards in your name, Patricia had said, sliding documents across her desk. Store cards. Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus. Total balance, $47,000. My stomach dropped. I never applied for those. The applications list your parents' address. Look at the purchase history. She highlighted transactions. Women's designer clothes, size 6. Men's golf equipment. A Rolex. Size 6 was my mother's size. Derek had been wearing a new Rolex at Sunday dinner last month. This is identity theft, Patricia said quietly. I recommend a full forensic audit. What we discovered was staggering. My parents had systematically exploited my finances since I was 23. They'd kept bank statements that came to their house when I first moved out. They had my social security number memorized. The autopay for their mortgage? Set up with my account information without my knowledge. Over 6 years, they'd siphoned nearly $340,000 from me through direct requests I couldn't refuse and outright fraud I never detected. Every Sunday I sat through family dinners where Mom served pot roast and Dad asked about my little computer job. Derek would tell stories about his gym clients while wearing designer clothes I'd unknowingly purchased. Aunt Marie would pat my hand. Not everyone is meant for big success. At least you're steady. Steady. That's what they called me while stealing enough money to buy a house. But I played along. I smiled. I nodded. And I let Patricia build an airtight case. We have everything, she told me 6 weeks ago. Bank records, credit applications with forged signatures, security footage. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division is ready whenever you give the word. I set the date for today. Sunday dinner. But not at their house, at mine. Jordan's finally buying a place. Mom had announced, condescension dripping. A little condo probably. Something more his speed. They had no idea I'd purchased a $2.3 million home in the city's most exclusive neighborhood 8 months ago. The same neighborhood where Dad's boss lived. The dinner invitation specified 6 p.m. sharp. They arrived in Dad's BMW, the one I'd been making payments on for 2 years, though they told everyone Derek bought it for them. Mom carried wine. Something modest. We know you're on a budget, sweetheart. Derek wandered through the foyer, unimpressed. Nice starter place. Give it a few years, maybe you'll upgrade to something like the folks' house. Let's sit down, I said, gesturing to the dining room where Patricia waited with 2 other people. FBI Special Agent Marcus Webb and Assistant District Attorney Sandra Reeves. Mom's smile froze. Jordan, what's going on? Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Hayes, Patricia began, voice cold and professional. I'm Patricia Chin, forensic accountant. This is Special Agent Webb and ADA Reeves. We're here to discuss financial crimes committed against your son over the past 6 years. Dad laughed nervously. Financial crimes? Jordan, what is this? Let's talk about your help, I said calmly. Patricia opened her laptop, projecting documents onto my dining room wall. Bank statements. Credit applications. Transaction histories. June 2019. First unauthorized credit card opened in Jordan's name. Bloomingdale's. $8,000 limit. Maxed out within 3 months on women's clothing. Mom's face went pale. September 2019. Nordstrom card. $12,000 limit. Used for men's designer clothing and a Rolex purchased October 14th. Patricia zoomed in on security footage. There was Derek trying on the watch. December 2019. Mortgage payment for 847 Riverside Drive begins auto-drafting from Jordan's checking account. No authorization. The account numbers were obtained from bank statements mailed to your address. Agent Webb leaned forward. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, over 6 years, you've systematically stolen $340,000 from your son through identity theft, credit fraud, and financial exploitation. We have documentation of 23 separate credit accounts opened in his name without authorization, forged signatures, and electronic evidence of fraud from your home IP address. The room went silent except for Mom's sharp breathing. This is insane, Dad said, voice shaking. Jordan gives us money willingly. I helped because you taught me refusing family was selfish, I said quietly. Because you made me feel like a terrible son every time I hesitated. I pulled out my own folder. But here's what you didn't know. That little computer job? I earned $240,000 annually. The company I co-founded? Valued at $8.2 million. My investment portfolio? Worth $1.3 million. Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on my marble floor. This house you're sitting in? I paid cash. $2.3 million. The same amount you stole from me could have bought your house twice over. Derek found his voice angry. So what? You're rich and you let your parents struggle? Struggle. I laughed bitterly. Dad, show them your credit card statement with $6,000 in country club charges. Mom, tell them about the $4,000 spa weekend. Derek, explain the Mediterranean cruise. Aita Reeves spoke up. The Hayes family has been living beyond their means, financing it through systematic fraud against their son. While telling everyone Jordan was struggling, they were stealing from him to maintain appearances. We never meant, Mom started. You forged my signature 17 times, I said. You opened credit cards in my name and maxed them out. Patricia's audit found you even used my social security number to secure a second mortgage. Dad stood abruptly. You're really going to prosecute your own parents? Family is supposed to forgive. Family is also supposed to not commit felony fraud, Agent Webb said. We have enough evidence to charge you both with multiple counts of identity theft, credit fraud, wire fraud, and forgery. Federal crimes carrying sentences of up to 30 years. The color drained from Dad's face. We should discuss a plea arrangement, Aita Reeves added. Given the extensive documentation, trial would not be in your favor. Mom started crying. Real tears this time. Jordan, please. We're your parents. Think about Derek, he didn't know. Derek wore a Rolex bought with a card in my name, I said flatly. Derek drove a car I paid for while you told everyone he bought it. You. Derek's face went red. You always acted like you were better than us. I showed up every Sunday. I answered every emergency call. I sent money whenever you asked. And you repaid me by stealing my identity and telling everyone I was a failure. Patricia closed her laptop. There's something else. The mortgage on your home? 3 months past due. Jordan stopped the autopay transfers 6 months ago when we began this investigation. The bank has initiated foreclosure proceedings. Mom gasped. What? But the payments were still. You thought the money was still coming, I finished. It wasn't. Every successful payment you saw was smoke and mirrors. The bank was holding foreclosure while the investigation concluded. Dad sank into his chair. We'll lose the house. You'll lose more than that, Agent Webb said. Your assets will be frozen pending criminal proceedings. Credit cards canceled. We'll be seizing property purchased with stolen funds, including the BMW outside and jewelry bought with cards in Jordan's name. You have 2 options, Aita Reeves explained. Fight the charges, go to trial, likely conviction and prison time. Or plea agreement, full restitution of $340,000, guilty pleas to reduce charges, probation and cooperation with asset recovery. We don't have $340,000, Dad said hoarsely. Then you'll sell everything, Patricia said simply. The house, cars, jewelry, golf clubs, designer clothes. Everything purchased with Jordan's money gets liquidated. You'll downsize significantly. Monthly restitution payments for years. Agent Webb stood. We'll need formal statements tomorrow at the federal building. 9 a.m. Bring an attorney. After they left, my family sat in stunned silence. 6 years, I said quietly. Did you ever plan to stop? Mom reached for me. Jordan, please. I stepped back. You made your choice every time you forged my signature. Every time you opened a card in my name. You chose this. What happens now? Dad asked, voice broken. Now you face consequences. The house will be foreclosed. Cars repossessed. You'll face probation and restitution. Your credit will be destroyed. And everyone you told I was struggling to will learn the truth. You're cruel, Derek spat. Derek, that guest house you're living in? Part of the foreclosure. You might want to start looking for an apartment you can actually afford. I walked to the door and opened it. You should go. They left in silence. I stood in my foyer, my beautiful paid-for Holy Mine foyer, and felt nothing but relief. 3 months later, the foreclosure was finalized. My parents moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment. The BMW was repossessed. Derek got a studio and a second job. Mom's jewelry collection was seized and sold at auction. The plea agreement was accepted. 5 years probation. Monthly restitution payments. Community service. Permanent criminal record for identity theft. The story spread through our community like wildfire. Aunt Marie stopped speaking to me, calling me vindictive. Uncle Tom called to apologize for every time he'd pitted me. My parents' friends quietly distanced themselves. I started therapy to process 6 years of financial abuse. I changed all passwords, locked down my credit, and set up fraud alerts. And I started having Sunday dinners with a new kind of family, friends who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. A year later, I received a handwritten letter from Mom. She'd completed a financial literacy course as part of probation. She was seeing a therapist about her spending addiction. I can't undo the damage, she wrote. But I want you to know I see it now. And I'm sorry. If you're ever ready to talk, I'm here. If you're never ready, I understand. You don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me anything. You never did. I kept the letter. I didn't respond. Not yet. But for the first time in 7 years, I felt like maybe, someday, there could be peace. Because I'd learned the hardest lesson. Family isn't defined by blood or obligation. It's defined by respect, honesty, and love. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set a boundary so strong it can't be crossed. Even if that boundary comes with an FBI investigation attached.